Hello there, and welcome to the very first episode of Your Grammar Questions Answered. To be honest, I'd always avoided making videos about grammar, mostly because I think the English language learning part of the internet is flooded with endless amateur videos repeating the same old stuff about when, for example, we use the past simple and when we use the present perfect simple. And I've never really wanted to add to that great mess of stuff that's out there. However, recently a couple of people have sent me grammar questions that I think are quite interesting and probably worth exploring. So the way these videos are going to work is I'm only going to make them when people ask me particular questions about the use of particular pieces of grammar. Okay? This particular question today came in from a student of mine who lives in Kazakhstan, Abu Saadi. And I'll read out the question first and then I'll talk you through my answers. So, he says, a couple of days ago I was revising could and I came across this explanation from Cambridge. We use could've plus ed form to talk about possibility in the past. Then there's a couple of examples. I could have been a lawyer. They could have taken a taxi home instead of walking and getting wet. Jeanette couldn't have done any better. He then continues. So, according to the rule, can't be used to say something like this. Yesterday, I could buy it for half the price. So I was just trying to understand whether there are instances where could can be used for possibility in the past without could've or couldn't have plus the ed form. Some forums say it can be used, some forums say it can't. But if I take a sentence like, we can go to Rome in June because both of us have a week off work, and I turn it into, we could go to Rome in June because both of us had a week off work, it sounds a bit weird. So I feel like could can be used for possibility in the past, but I'm not sure when. Very good question. So I think the first thing to say is actually about could've, okay? Which is to do with things that were possible in the past, but which didn't happen. Okay, I often think about the end of Rocky, the movie with Sylvester Stallone, where it has the immortal line, I could have been a contender. Okay, I could have been someone challenging for the world title, but that never happened. And most examples of could have or couldn't have are to do with things that looked possible in the past but didn't happen. Okay, so you might say something like, yeah, we were lucky, we could have died, but in the end we escaped with a few cuts and bruises. I guess I could have gone on to do a PhD after doing my master's, but to be honest, I just really couldn't face any more studying. It was possible for me, it didn't happen. Yeah? With could, I think the first thing to say is when you look through examples of could, the vast majority are about future possibility. Yeah? So you see things like things could get nasty for them in the coming months. Yeah, they could stop all of this if they wanted to. They just don't seem to be that bothered about it. I think it's probably worth a try if you think it could cut costs. So here it means if you think this thing is possible in the future, or this thing might be possible in the future. You also see could sometimes used for polite requests. So you get things like, sorry, could you just close the window over there, please? Could you turn the volume up a little bit? Could you pass me the salt, please? When you're talking about the past, most of the time, if it's something that was difficult and you tried to do and you succeeded in doing it, we wouldn't use could. So the example that Abu Saadi had of, yesterday I could buy it for half the price. Well, without more context, it's hard to know what that means. Does it mean you could have got it for half the price yesterday, but you didn't, and now the price has doubled? Or does it mean yesterday you managed to buy it for half the price? Or, it was difficult, but you found a place doing it specially? Or does it just mean Yeah, I got that yesterday. I bought that yesterday for half the price they're selling it for today. Okay? Without more context, it's impossible to know what that's supposed to mean. With the sentence he had about we could go to Rome in June, again, the reason it sounds off is because either it was just, we both had a week off work in June and so we went to Rome, just past simple, or it would be, yeah, we were really lucky, because usually we don't get time off. But last June, we both had a week off work at exactly the same time. So we managed to get away and we went to Rome. My football team, Arsenal, we used to have a French manager, Arsène Wenger, and he spoke amazing English. Apparently he spoke 5 languages very, very well. And despite that, one small weird glitch with his English used to be his use of could instead of managed to, and it used to drive me crazy. He'd talk about a game and he would say something like, Liverpool deserve credit because they defended very, very well. They made it very difficult for us, but we kept playing our football, and eventually, in the 82nd minute, we could score. And I would always scream at the TV saying, managed to! Because of that idea of it being hard, trying, and then succeeding. You managed to. So you don't use could in either of those situations. Where you do use could for the past isn't really to talk about possibility, it's to talk about ability. So you might hear things like, he started really early, my son. He could read by the time he was 2. And you often hear it when people are telling stories. So you might hear something like, we were driving up in the mountains and the fog came down and we couldn't see more than 10 feet in front of our car. Or things like, I walked into the house and as soon as I opened the front door, I could smell burning. It was possible for me to smell burning. So I hope that clears up any confusion about could have, couldn't have, could, couldn't for past, present and future uses. If you have any questions that you'd like cleared up about grammar, things that are bothering you, please do get in touch and I'll make a video. Please also check out our website, www.lexicallab.com, to find out more about the online courses we offer.